The Stellar Dream was the most beautiful spaceship ever built. Its white hull gleamed in the sunlight as it prepared for its first trip from Earth to Mars. The ship belonged to Han Corporation, the biggest space travel company in the world. Today was special. It was carrying both regular passengers and some very important people. Inside the ship, Mr. Jaiho Park fixed his blue uniform and touched the golden pin that showed he was the Director of Customer Relations. He had worked 15 years to get this job, and this was his first big flight. Everything had to be perfect. "Sir, we have a situation in first class," said Kim Do-young, the chief steward. His face showed worry. "It's about Mr. Tyson's seating arrangement." Park's stomach tightened. Mike Tyson was their most famous passenger today, traveling to Mars for a special boxing match that would help raise money for poor children. "What's wrong with his seat?" "Ms. Lee Sun-mei is refusing to sit next to him," Kim said quietly. "She's demanding we move either her or Mr. Tyson to a different seat." Park closed his eyes for a moment. Sun-mei Lee was from one of the richest families on Earth, and her uncle sat on Han Corporation's board of directors. But Mike Tyson was a legend, and this was embarrassing. They walked to first class together. The space was beautiful, with soft white chairs that could turn into beds, large windows showing Earth below, and small robots that brought drinks to passengers. Mike Tyson sat in seat 3A, reading a book about Mars history. He looked peaceful in his black suit. In the aisle stood Sun-mei Lee, wearing expensive clothes and a very angry face. "Ms. Lee, how can we help you today?" Park asked with his best professional smile. "This is unacceptable," she said, pointing at Tyson without looking at him. "I paid for the best seat, and I demand proper company. Move me to a different seat, or better yet, move him to economy class where he belongs." Park felt his face get hot. In all his years working in customer service, he had never heard someone be so rude. He noticed other passengers watching. Some looked uncomfortable, others angry. The ship's cameras were recording everything, as they always did. Mike Tyson slowly closed his book. He didn't look angry. Instead, he had a small smile on his face, like he knew something nobody else did. "Ma'am," Park started, "Mr. Tyson is our honored guest. He's traveling to Mars for a charity event. I'm afraid we cannot." "Do you know who I am?" Sun-mei interrupted. "My uncle, Director Lee, sits on your company's board. One call from me, and you'll be looking for a new job tomorrow. Now, are you going to fix this seating problem, or should I make that call?" The whole first-class cabin was silent now. Even the drink robots had stopped moving, their sensors focused on the scene. Park looked at Kim, who stood straight and professional, but whose eyes showed deep disappointment in what was happening. Mike Tyson reached for his phone. His movements were calm and careful. "Excuse me," he said politely. "I need to make a quick call myself." He pressed one button and waited. "Hello, Chairman Choi." "Yes, it's Mike. Do you have a minute? Something interesting is happening on my flight to Mars, and I thought you should know about it." Park felt the blood drain from his face. Chairman Choi Daho was not just the head of the Interplanetary Boxing Federation. He was also the person who had helped Han Corporation get permission to fly to Mars in the first place. His support had made the company billions of dollars. Sun-mei Lee's face changed from angry to worried. She knew that name too. "Yes, I'm on the Stellar Dream." "Beautiful ship," Tyson continued, his voice friendly and relaxed. "But there seems to be some confusion about seating arrangements. The Director of Customer Relations is here. Would you like to speak with him?" Park's hands were shaking when he took the phone. Chairman Choi's voice was calm but serious. "Mr. Park, please tell me exactly what is happening on that ship." For the next 5 minutes, Park explained everything. He didn't leave anything out. When he finished, Chairman Choi was quiet for a moment. "I see," the chairman finally said. "Please return the phone to Mr. Tyson. And Mr. Park, remember this moment. It will be important for your future." Mike Tyson took his phone back and listened for a few seconds. "Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm looking forward to the charity match too. Give my best to your family. He ended the call and went back to reading his book, as if nothing had happened. Sun Mi stood frozen for a moment, then walked quickly to the back of first class and found an empty seat. She didn't say another word. Park and Kim looked at each other. They both knew that this incident would have big consequences. The ship's AI system had recorded everything. The words, the tone of voices, the body language. There would be no hiding what had happened here. Sir, Kim said softly to Park, should I make a detailed report about this incident? Park nodded. Write down everything, Kim. Every single detail. He looked out the window at Earth getting smaller behind them. He had worked so hard to get this job, but now he realized something. Sometimes doing the right thing was more important than keeping your position. The Stellar Dream continued its journey to Mars, carrying its passengers, their stories, and the beginning of what would become a major change in how Han Corporation and the whole space industry thought about treating people with respect. In his seat, Mike Tyson turned another page in his book, the same small smile still on his face. The ship's engines hummed softly, and Earth's blue oceans slowly faded into the black of space. Change was coming, and it had started right here in Seat 3A. Chairman Choi Daho sat in his office on the top floor of the Interplanetary Boxing Federation building in Seoul. The wall-sized window showed the busy city below, but his eyes were focused on his computer screen. He had just finished his call with Mike Tyson, and now he was watching the video feed from the Stellar Dream security system. The chairman's assistant, Mr. Yoon Ji-won, stood quietly beside his desk. They had worked together for 20 years, and Jae-won knew his boss well enough to see that he was angry, even though Choi's face remained calm. Send me the contact information for every Han Corporation board member, Choi said softly, and get me Chairman Song Min-ho on the line. While Jae-won made the calls, Choi watched the video again. The ship's AI system had sent it automatically after detecting the confrontation in first class. The technology was perfect. Every word was clear, every gesture visible. He could see Sun Mi-lee's angry face, Park's nervous movements, and Mike Tyson's quiet dignity. Chairman Song is on line 1. Sir, Jae-won announced. Choi picked up his phone. Min-ho, old friend. We need to talk about what's happening on your new spaceship. There was a pause. What do you mean, Daho? I'm sending you a video right now. Watch it and call me back. Choi pressed a button, sending the footage to Song's private account. And Min-ho, watch it carefully. The future of our partnership depends on how you handle this. While they waited, Jae-won brought Choi a cup of traditional Korean tea. The chairman sipped it slowly, looking at the city outside. Seoul had changed so much in the last 30 years. The buildings were taller, the cars flew instead of driving, and South Korea had become one of the world's leading space tourism countries. But some things, like prejudice and discrimination, were trying to follow humanity into space. The phone rang exactly 12 minutes later. I've watched it 3 times, Chairman Song said. His voice sounded tired. This is unacceptable. Yes, it is, Choi agreed. What are you going to do about it? Director Park will be removed immediately. So will Ms. Lee's uncle from the board. But I'm more concerned about how this happened in the first place. We need to make bigger changes. Choi nodded, even though Som couldn't see him. This was why they had remained friends for 40 years. Som always understood what was really important. The Boxing Federation brings you millions of passengers every year, Min-ho, Choi said. But more importantly, we're building humanity's future in space. We can't bring old prejudices with us to the stars. Give me 48 hours, Som replied. I'll have a complete plan for you. This won't happen again on any of our ships. Back on the Stellar Dream, Chief Steward Kim Do-young was writing his report about the incident. He included every detail he could remember, knowing it might be important later. The ship's eye, which everyone called ARIA, helped him by providing exact times and quotes. Chief Kim, Aria's gentle voice, said through his computer, "I have detected elevated stress levels in Ms. Lee's voice and behavior patterns. Should I add this to the report?" "Yes, please add everything," Kim answered. He had worked with AIs for 10 years, but Aria was special. She didn't just record things, she understood them. "I have also noticed that Mr. Tyson's heart rate remained completely normal throughout the incident," Aria added. "He showed no signs of anger or distress. This seems important." Kim smiled. "Yes, that is important. Please add that too." In his private cabin, Mike Tyson was not thinking about the incident anymore. He was video chatting with his daughter, showing her the view of Earth from his window. "It's so beautiful, Dad," she said, looking at the blue planet getting smaller behind them. "I can't believe you're really going to Mars." "Dreams come true if you work hard and stay strong," Tyson told her. "And sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even if it means making some people uncomfortable." His daughter didn't know about what had happened earlier. To her, this was just an exciting video call with her dad in space. But Tyson knew that because of today, the space industry would change. Sometimes the biggest changes started with small moments. In the ship's control room, Captain Han Jinwoo received a private message from Han Corporation headquarters. He read it twice, then called Chief Kim to his office. Starting immediately, the captain said, "We have new orders from Chairman Song himself. Every passenger complaint must be reviewed for signs of discrimination. Any crew member who witnesses discrimination is required to report it immediately." Kim nodded. "Does this have something to do with what happened in first class?" "This has to do with making sure we have a future as a company," the captain answered. "Space travel isn't just about moving people between planets. It's about bringing the best of humanity to the stars and leaving the worst parts behind." As the Stellar Dream continued its journey to Mars, different conversations were happening all over the ship. Passengers who had witnessed the incident were telling others. Crew members were discussing the new orders. And in first class, a very quiet Sun Mai Lee sat alone, looking out her window but not really seeing the view. In his office in Seoul, Chairman Choi made one final call for the day. He dialed a number he rarely used, the direct line to the International Space Tourism Board. "This is Chairman Choi," he said when someone answered. "I need to schedule an emergency meeting. It's time we talked about creating new anti-discrimination laws for space travel." The sun was setting over Seoul, painting the sky in beautiful oranges and reds. From his office window, Choi could see the stream of flying cars heading home for the day. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, the Stellar Dream was carrying its passengers to Mars. But it was carrying something else too, the beginning of an important change. "Send a message to Mike," he told his assistant. "Tell him I'll see him on Mars next week. We have a lot of work to do." Jae-won nodded and began typing the message. Both men knew that the next few weeks would bring big changes to the space industry. Sometimes it took just one incident, one brave person, and one phone call to start a revolution. The news traveled faster than the Stellar Dream itself. Within 6 hours of Mike Tyson's phone call, every major office of Han Corporation was buzzing with activity. The company's internal communication system was overwhelmed with messages, reports, and urgent meetings. In the main office building in Seoul, Chairman Song Min-ho stood at his window, watching the evening traffic below. His secretary, Ms. Kim Hana, entered the room quietly with a tablet in her hands. "Sir, we have compiled all the information about the incident," she said. "The ship's AI system, ARIA, has provided complete documentation. Would you like to review it?" Chairman Song turned from the window. His face showed the weight of the situation. "Show me everything." The tablet displayed multiple video angles of the first-class cabin. Ariya had captured not just the main incident, but also the reactions of other passengers, the subtle body language of the crew, and even the change in atmosphere before and after the event. The AI had also analyzed voice patterns, stress levels, and emotional indicators of everyone involved. ARIA reports that 17 passengers recorded the incident on their personal devices. Hana explained, "We should expect this to become public very soon." Chairman Song nodded slowly. "Perhaps it should become public. Some lessons need to be learned in the open." On the Stellar Dream, Chief Steward Kim Do-young was dealing with an unexpected problem. Other passengers had begun requesting to move their seats, not away from Mike Tyson, but closer to him. The ship's first-class cabin had become an impromptu gathering of people who wanted to show their support. "Mr. Tyson," a young passenger said, approaching his seat carefully, "I want you to know that most of us don't think like Ms. Lee. Space should be for everyone." Tyson looked up from his book and smiled. "Thank you. Would you like to hear about the charity boxing match we're organizing on Mars?" Soon, a small group had gathered around Tyson's seat. He told them about his plans to help build the first children's hospital on Mars, and how the boxing match would raise money for medical equipment. The passengers listened with interest, and several offered to contribute to the cause. Meanwhile, in her isolated seat at the back of first class, Sun-Mi Lee was learning some difficult lessons. Her attempts to call her uncle on the board of directors had failed. All her messages to Hand Corporation headquarters went unanswered. She was experiencing something new, the feeling of having no special privileges. In the ship's control room, Captain Han Jinwoo received another message from Earth. This one came directly from Chairman Song's office. He read it carefully, then called for Chief Kim. "The company is implementing immediate changes," the captain explained. "Every crew member will receive new training about preventing discrimination. We're also installing updated AI systems that can detect and report discriminatory behavior more effectively." Chief Kim thought about this for a moment. "Will this affect our current journey?" "It already has," the captain replied. "We're now part of a bigger story. How we handle the rest of this flight will set an example for the entire space industry." Back on Earth, Chairman Choi's office had become the center of a growing movement. Representatives from other space companies were calling, wanting to know more about Hand Corporation's new anti-discrimination policies. The Interplanetary Boxing Federation's communication channels were flooded with messages of support for Mike Tyson. Chairman Choi's assistant, Jae-won, organized the messages into categories. "Sir," he reported, "we're receiving offers from other companies that want to support the Mars Children's Hospital project. The incident on the Stellar Dream has actually helped raise awareness for the cause." Choi smiled. "Sometimes good things come from bad situations. Send a message to all our partners. Tell them we're organizing a conference next month to discuss making space travel more inclusive." The Stellar Dream continued its journey through space, but the ship felt different now. The crew moved with new purpose, proud to be part of a changing industry. Passengers shared stories and made new friends, breaking down the invisible barriers that had separated them before. Araya, the ship's AI, recorded all of these changes. Her advanced systems noticed how the atmosphere in first class had transformed from tense to warm and friendly. She noted how crew members spoke more confidently when dealing with passenger requests, knowing they had clear guidelines about fairness and respect. Chief Kim, Araya said through the ship's communication system, "I have detected a significant improvement in passenger interaction patterns. Would you like me to include this in my report to headquarters?" Kim smiled at the nearest camera. "Yes, Araya. Everything is important now. We're not just flying to Mars. We're helping to build a better future in space." In his private cabin, Mike Tyson was writing in his journal. He had kept a journal for many years, recording his thoughts about life, boxing, and the changes he had seen in the world. Today's entry was special. "Sometimes change doesn't need loud voices or angry words," he wrote. "Sometimes it just needs one person to stand firm, make a phone call, and trust that good people will do the right thing." The Earth was now a small blue dot behind them, and Mars was growing larger ahead. The Stellar Dream carried not just passengers and cargo, but also the seeds of change. In the ship's databanks, ARIA continued to record everything, creating a detailed record of how one incident led to a transformation in the space industry. Chairman Song, still in his office in Seoul, made a final decision before heading home for the night. He pressed a button on his desk, connecting him to the company's public relations department. "Prepare a statement," he ordered. "Tomorrow, we announce the most comprehensive anti-discrimination policy in the space industry, and make sure everyone knows this is just the beginning." As night fell over Earth, the Stellar Dream sailed through the darkness of space, carrying its passengers toward Mars. But more importantly, it carried a story that would change how humanity thought about equality among the stars. The Han Corporation headquarters was unusually busy for 7 a.m. Chairman Song Min-ho had called an emergency board meeting, and everyone knew this would be no ordinary day. In the main conference room, 14 board members sat around a large table. The empty chair that used to belong to Director Lee, Sun Mi's uncle, seemed to speak louder than words. Chairman Song walked in exactly on time, followed by his secretary, Ms. Kim Hannah, who carried several data tablets. "Good morning," Chairman Song said. His voice was calm but firm. "Before we begin, please watch this video." The large screen on the wall came to life, showing everything that had happened on the Stellar Dream. The board members watched in silence. When the video ended, Chairman Song stood up. "This happened on our flagship spacecraft," he said. "This happened under our watch. Today, we fixed this problem, not just for one flight, but for our entire company." Over the next 2 hours, Chairman Song presented the most significant changes in Han Corporation's history. The board members listened, took notes, and occasionally looked at the empty chair beside them. Ms. Kim Hannah recorded every decision in the official company record. Director Park and 3 other executives were immediately removed from their positions. The company would create a new Department of Passenger Rights and Equality. Every employee would undergo new training about treating people fairly. The ship's AI system, ARIA, would be upgraded to better protect passenger rights. Han Corporation would spend $5 billion to support programs that fight discrimination. While the board meeting continued in Seoul, the Stellar Dream was halfway to Mars. In his private cabin, Mike Tyson was reading messages from Earth. News about what had happened had spread quickly, and people were sending him thousands of supportive messages. Chief Steward Kim Do-young knocked on Tyson's door. "Mr. Tyson, we've received a message from Chairman Song. He would like to speak with you when it's convenient." Tyson nodded. "Now is good." The video call connected, showing Chairman Song in his office. "Mr. Tyson, I want to personally apologize for what happened on our ship. We are making big changes because of this incident. Sometimes it takes one small moment to show us where we need to improve," Tyson replied. "I appreciate your quick response to the situation." Back in Seoul, the news was spreading fast. Hannah watched as reporters gathered outside the Han Corporation building. The company's stock price was actually going up as investors responded positively to the changes. Chairman Choi called from the Interplanetary Boxing Federation office. "Min-ho, you're doing the right thing. The other space companies are watching. They'll follow your example." "They'll have to," Song replied, "because starting next month, we won't work with any company that doesn't have strong anti-discrimination policies." On the Stellar Dream, ARIA was already implementing the new protocols. The AI system had been updated remotely from Earth, and now it watched more carefully for signs of unfair treatment. Chief Kim, ARIA said, "I have detected a 47% increase in positive passenger interactions since the new policies were announced. People are talking more openly about equality in space travel." Kim smiled. He had been promoted to lead the new passenger rights training program. "Thank you, ARIA. Please keep tracking those numbers. They tell an important story." In her seat at the back of first class, Sun Mi Lee was learning about consequences. Her phone kept showing news articles about the incident. Her social media accounts were filled with negative comments. But more importantly, she was watching how other passengers treated each other with respect and kindness. A young flight attendant approached her with a tablet. "Ms. Lee, we have received instructions from Earth. Your Han Corporation lifetime VIP status has been revoked. From now on, you'll travel as a regular passenger. Sun Li took the tablet with shaking hands. For the first time in her life, her family name and connections couldn't help her. She looked around the cabin, seeing people from different backgrounds talking and laughing together. Finally, she understood what she had done wrong. In the ship's control room, Captain Han received more updates from Earth. The company was already implementing new hiring policies, making sure people from all backgrounds had fair chances to work in space. The captain smiled, remembering his own difficult journey to become one of the first Asian captains in the space industry. Send a message to all crew members, he told his communications officer. Tell them we're not just flying a spaceship anymore, we're flying the future. The message spread through the ship, reaching every crew member. Today marks a new chapter in space travel. Every passenger, regardless of who they are, deserves respect and fair treatment. We are proud to lead this change. Together, we fly toward a better future. Back in Seoul, Chairman Song was finishing the longest day of his career. He looked at the city lights below his office and thought about how one incident had started such big changes. Hana. He called to his secretary. Send a message to all our employees worldwide. Tell them this is day one of the new Han Corporation. We will lead by example. As night fell over Earth, the stellar dream continued its journey to Mars. The ship's lights glowed softly in the darkness of space, carrying not just passengers, but also the promise of a more equal future among the stars. In his cabin, Mike Tyson made one final note in his journal before going to sleep. Change doesn't always come with loud noise. Sometimes it comes quietly, one decision at a time, until the whole world is different. The ship's engines hummed softly as they pushed through space. Inside the computer systems, ARIA continued to watch and learn, recording how a single incident could transform not just one company, but an entire industry. The future of space travel was changing, one small step at a time. 1 month had passed since the incident on the Stellar Dream. Mars Colony 1 sparkled under its protective dome, its buildings gleaming in the red desert sunlight. The colony's main conference center was filled with people from Earth and Mars, all gathered for a special announcement. Chairman Song Min-ho stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. He saw faces from every space company, news reporters from both planets, and in the front row, Mike Tyson sat next to Chairman Choi. The successful charity boxing match had raised over $50 million for the new children's hospital. 1 month ago, Song began, an incident on our flagship spacecraft showed us that we needed to change. Today, I am proud to announce that all major space companies have agreed to follow the new Tyson protocol. The large screens behind him showed the details of the new rules. Every space company would now have strict policies against discrimination. All crews would receive special training. AI systems like ARIA would help protect passenger rights. Most importantly, companies that didn't follow these rules would not be allowed to operate between Earth and Mars. In the audience, Chief Kim Do-young watched with pride. He had been promoted to Director of Passenger Rights and Safety for Han Corporation. His first job had been to help write the Tyson Protocol, using everything he had learned from the incident. The space between planets belongs to everyone. Chairman Song continued. Today, we promise to keep it that way. After the announcement, people gathered in small groups to talk. Many came to thank Mike Tyson, not just for the successful charity match, but for helping to change the space industry. Tyson spoke with everyone who approached him, showing the same calm dignity he had displayed on the Stellar Dream. Mr. Tyson, a young Martian reporter asked, how do you feel about having these new rules named after you? Tyson smiled. The name doesn't matter. What matters is that people are treated fairly. Space is too big and too beautiful to let old prejudices follow us here. Near the back of the room, Sun Li stood quietly. She had asked to attend the announcement, wanting to see the changes she had helped cause, even if not in the way she had intended. The past month had taught her many lessons about respect and equality. Chairman Choi noticed her presence. He walked over and spoke to her softly. The best way to fix a mistake is to learn from it and help others avoid making the same one. Would you like to join our new passenger rights education program? Sun and I looked surprised, then nodded slowly. Sometimes, the best changes came from unexpected places. Back on Earth, the Han Corporation headquarters had changed. The company's main entrance now displayed a new motto: carrying humanity's best to the stars. Inside, Ms. Kim Hanna was reviewing reports from all their spacecraft. Every ship now had upgraded AI systems like ARIA, helping to ensure fair treatment for all passengers. The passenger satisfaction ratings have increased by 60%, Hanna told Chairman Song during their morning meeting. Other companies are asking to study our new policies. We've become the industry leader in passenger rights. Song looked out his window at Seoul's skyline. Send them everything we've learned. This isn't about competition anymore. It's about making sure space travel brings out the best in humanity. On the Stellar Dream, now making its regular route between Earth and Mars, Captain Han gave new passengers the welcome speech that had become standard on all Han Corporation ships. Welcome aboard. Here in space, we see no differences between people. We are all travelers among the stars, sharing this journey together. Our AI system, ARIN, and our crew are here to ensure everyone is treated with equal respect and dignity. ARIA had received many upgrades since the incident. The AI now helped train new crew members, showing them real examples of how to handle difficult situations fairly. Her databases included detailed records of the incident that had changed everything, using it to teach important lessons about respect and equality. Chief Kim's report shows that passenger interactions have improved by 78%, ARIA reported to Captain Han. The new training programs are working effectively. The Mars Children's Hospital was already under construction, its foundation rising from the red soil. The building would include a special wall displaying the names of everyone who had helped make it possible. Among those names would be Han Corporation, Chairman Song, Chairman Choi, and even Sun Mi Lee, who had donated a large sum to the project as part of her journey to make things right. One evening, as the sun set over Mars Colony 1, Mike Tyson stood with Chairman Song and Chairman Choi, watching workers build the hospital. Did you know this would happen? Song asked Tyson, referring to all the changes that had come from that day on the Stellar Dream. Not exactly, Tyson replied. But I knew that when good people see something wrong, they'll work to fix it. Sometimes they just need a little push to get started. The three men looked out at the Martian sunset, its red and orange colors painting the dome above them. Earth was visible as a bright blue dot in the darkening sky, a reminder of how far humanity had come and how far it still had to go. Back in his office, Chairman Song made one final update to the company records. The incident on the Stellar Dream was now officially part of Han Corporation's training materials, taught to every new employee as an example of how a difficult moment could lead to positive change. The stars have always guided humanity forward, he wrote in the introduction to the new company handbook. Now it's our job to make sure that when we travel among those stars, we bring only the best parts of ourselves with us. As night fell over both planets, spacecraft continued their journeys between Earth and Mars. In each ship's computer core, AIs like ARIA watched over their passengers, helping to ensure that space travel would remain open and fair for everyone. The incident that had started with one seat on one spacecraft had grown into something much bigger, a promise that the future among the stars would be better than the past we left behind.